Welcome into episode 8 of the PrintFest DFS podcast. I'm your host, Justin Rue, alongside Scott Bandian. We both ended up playing the same lineup this week, and we finished with 137.4, just barely getting over the line of cash. Line of cash was right around 135 in most single entry double ups. So we just barely got over. We ended up winning a very nice 69% of our head-to-head. So a nice profitable day, even taking a zero from Justin Jackson, who got injured on the first play of the game without even getting a touch. So I consider us, that was unlucky that he, got hurt on the first play of the game, but I'm consider ourselves lucky that we still got over the line to cash, even taking an air ball from Justin Jackson.
Yeah, yesterday we were sweating down to the very end of the last game, man. I thought when the Chargers was on the 1 yard line at the end of that game, I think we both thought we were dead. We both thought Keenan Allen was getting that 1 yard touchdown to put us under the line to cash. But we held on, and it was close too, man. I mean, we were 2 points above the line to cash and still won 69% of our head-to-heads. That tells you how many people were right there.
It was tight.
It was real tight, and luckily Justin Jackson was, owned by half the field, so it didn't absolutely put us in a coffin, but damn if it wasn't close.
I know. Yeah, if Justin Jackson doesn't get hurt, we don't sweat anything in the entire second half. We're kicking back, just counting our money. Yeah, we probably finish 10, 15 points above line of cash, get triple ups, maybe quadruple ups, all that. Still ended up being a solid day. So we both played Josh Allen, obviously, like just total windmill. He had, in the first drive, he already had like 6 points. He was just totally smashing all game. He ended up having 3 passing touchdowns. He got the rushing touchdown at the end of the game. There was like a couple minutes left, and they were down at like the 3 yard line. I'm like, okay, well, he's going to get his rushing touchdown on the goal line. And what he did, runs in a 3 yard touchdown, puts him from 32 points up to 39. I'm just like, this is a total windmill. He was only 30% owned in double up. So, he wasn't even like the uber chalk. Man, total smash.
A lot of people, I don't know what Russ's ownership was off the top of my head, but I know he was somewhat popular. And for me, I didn't think it was reasonable to fade Josh Allen and expect to win money. We said on Friday that Josh Allen has, in this game, a chance to go for 35 or 40, and he went for 39. And, man, he windmilled. And if you didn't have Josh Allen, there's no way you felt comfortable all day, especially after that first drive. And he almost had the bonus at halftime. He was torching Seattle. And, this is what we were expecting. Obviously, you're not going to project for 39 out of him, but I said I thought his floor was 25 or so, and he hit that at halftime. So,
I think
just an absolute windmill. Feel fine about it.
Yeah, I think the lesson here is that we keep seeing it with these 7K plus price quarterbacks, is that if they have dual upside where they can run, we're talking about guys like Kyler Murray and Josh Allen, Russ, Deshaun Watson, not as much so Lamar this year because his passing has been horrid. But these guys who have the dual upside, who can get their throwing and get their rushing, the upside on these guys is completely out of the realm of a guy like Big Ben or Jared Goff or Tom Brady or Drew Brees. They just can't get there. They cannot get to 39 points or 40 points if they don't run in a touchdown. They would have to throw for 5 or 6 touchdowns to get there. So I just think the floor and the ceiling is so much higher on these guys that can get there in both ways. So I think if you're going to pay up, you make sure your quarterback can run.
Yeah, last year at quarterback, we paid down a lot, and we were just hoping, if we get 20 to 25 out of these guys, that's great. Now, that's kind of the floor that you need. If your quarterback's not hitting that 20 to 25 threshold, with the top price guys who are seeing massive ownership every week, whether it's Russ, Josh Allen, Mahomes, Kyler, it's hard to compete, man.
Yeah.
Obviously, this week, Drew Lock hit that mark. He hit, 30?
33, yeah.
33, yeah. So,
but he had 47 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown.
And that's unlike him, right?
Exactly.
And if you get that this year, it's tough. So I thought Josh Allen was a lock all week.
Yeah. Yeah. That game environment was just set up perfectly for him to totally smash, and he definitely delivered there. So the other lock, I think, so Josh Allen was probably a lock all week. I think from the start of the week, Dalvin Cook was just a total lock all day. I mean, yeah, he scored 42 points coming off of the 50 burger he scored in week 8, but we knew he was going to get 20 plus touches. We knew, I mean, he was at home, high implied total. We talked about him on Friday against Detroit. They can't stop the run. We know Minnesota. All he wants to do is they just want to establish a run with him, and he had like I think he had like 27 points, and then he broke off a 70-yard touchdown to get up over 200 yards. It's just a total print fest from Dalvin Cook at 8.2K. If you didn't play him, I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah, that last 70-some yard touchdown really put the fish in the coffin right there. I mean, I don't know, man. I know a lot of people faded Dalvin Cook for, smelly David Johnson.
Yeah. James
And I think that is just disgustingly bad. Like, it's indefensible how bad that is. Dalvin Cook, we said Friday, he has the highest upside at the running back position other than CMC and Aaron Jones. And maybe you can make a case that he has that same upside. We've seen it the last 2 weeks. Obviously, you're never going to expect, 42. I mean, he had 250 total yards. That's a ridiculous outcome. But the point is, on this slate, he was the most locked in bell cow with the best matchup. I don't care if he was 8.2K. That was the right price, right? So, and you have to expect this in this type of matchup. That's why I love playing Dalvin Cook. When he is a chalky matchup against a bad defense, he really never busts. And I mean, getting an explosion like this, if you didn't have him, you probably didn't make money.
Yeah, you're in trouble. Yeah, because he was right around like 60% owned and double up. So if you didn't have him, and if you don't have Josh Allen, if you didn't have either one of those, man, you didn't make any money today. So the other running back plays we had was Chase Edmonds. And so, yeah, he disappointed. He only scored 11.8, but he had 28 touches. He played on 95% of the snaps. I will take that all day. The Cardinals scored 31 points. If you tell me before slate starts that the Cardinals are going to score 31 points, Chase Edmonds is going to get 28 touches on 95% of the snaps, I'd play that all day. He'll probably in every situation there, he probably scores 25 plus. So perfectly fine with the process there at 6.8K.
Yeah, he definitely ran gold. The efficiency that we'd seen leading up to this game kind of went away. But I mean, he was so highly owned that it really didn't matter. And he was another guy that was just a virtual lock. Running back was really weak this week outside of like 3 or 4 core guys. So even with him really hitting his floor, I would say 11.8 on 20 touches for him, a guy who's so involved in the passing game. I think he hit his floor in this game, and thankfully it didn't kill us because of the ownership. In conjunction with guys like David Johnson getting hurt, who had 35% and double ups and 50-50s. 28 touches at 6.8K in a game that shoots out. I mean, you're never going to fade that, or you shouldn't at least.
Yeah, so the last running back play we had was Justin Jackson, and there's nothing we can do here. I mean, he got hurt on the first play of the game, got a helmet to the knee when he was pass blocking for Justin Herbert. So, but let's just go back to the process of why we played him is that he was 4,900. He's at home against the Raiders. We knew he was going to be points scored in this game, and Troy May Pope was out. So it was just Justin Jackson and Josh Kelly in that backfield. And so if we're going to project him for 15 plus touches at 4,900 in that matchup, I think Justin Jackson was totally fine.
Yeah, and remember the process here was high price receiver was very strong this week compared to low price and the mid price guys. So I know at least we felt that prioritizing 2 of Julio, Lockett, Keenan Allen, and Diggs was important. And Justin Jackson opened that up for us, especially when you're paying up at quarterback for Josh Allen. You had to find value somewhere, and for the price, yeah, Justin Jackson was risky because of losing goal line, and he's just had variance in the amount of touches he's had over the last 3 or 4 weeks. But I mean, that's what you get when you pay it 4.9K. Now, if he doesn't get hurt, even if he hits his floor, even if he has a terrible game, I mean, we don't even sweat this slate out. Luckily, he was, owned by half the field, like we said before. But just unfortunate. There's not really anything you can do. The process was fine. You can't account for a helmet to the knee on the first play of the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is what it is, but thankfully it didn't kill us.
Yeah, what makes me feel better about the play too is that Kalen Balaj came in and scored 16 points. And Kalen Balaj is a total dumpster fire. So I think Justin Jackson in this spot, if he gets the role that Kalen Balaj got there, he probably puts up over 20.
When
So
did Kalen Balaj get on the Chargers? When did this happen? Was he
I
on
honestly
the
did
Jets
not
2 weeks
know.
ago? Like,
I did not know he was on the Chargers. I thought he was out of the NFL.
he should be out of the NFL.
God. So anyway, so that was our running back. So we played Edmonds, Dalvin, and Justin Jackson. I know a lot of people play James Conner, and of course, I mean, game script ran him out of there. James Conner, I thought was still a fine play. He ran completely ice cold, only scored 4. And then David Johnson, a lot of people played, which I mean, that's just a horrible play. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, you're a fish if you play DJ.
He's dust.
Straight up.
And I mean, yeah, he got hurt and had a concussion, but he's dust. I mean, anyone who played him, you don't know what you're doing.
I
So
didn't think about him for a second.
no.
Literally not a single second.
At wide receiver, Julio Jones was, I think, the best play of the week, and just a total lock with Calvin Ridley out, with Bryce Callahan and AJ Boye out. So the top 2 corners were out for Denver. No Calvin Ridley at home in the dome. We know how Matt Ryan always throws for over 300 yards in the dome, like seemingly every time that he plays at home. At 7,200, I think Julio was in line to just absolutely smash, and he ended up being okay, not great. He went 554, and he did get into the box, so he ended up being okay, not really getting there, but he was just so chalky. And I mean, in this spot, I would play him all over again.
Yeah, that's the thing. He was really, really chalky. I mean, he was greater than, I think he was 59% owned or something.
Yeah.
And
I
in
have
a
no wide
game
receiver.
where, yeah, in a game where Calvin Ridley's out, they're at home, they're playing a bad pass D and a beat up secondary. Man, when he's, upwards of 60% owned in cash, that Mount St. Julio eruption spot is real.
And that
And
was
it
very
seems like it
faded.
seems like Julio chalk week never really gets there, but it's a scary fade. Like if he blows up, I mean, this dude had 300 yards in the past. Obviously, that's not the projection, but I mean, if he goes for 150 and 2, which is well in the range of outcomes for this spot, and you
Yeah.
don't have that, that is very scary at that ownership. And so he wasn't even my favorite play. I actually faded my favorite play, which was Keenan Allen,
Mhm.
somewhat because of how chalky Julio was. That's just terrifying to fade.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Keenan Allen was definitely one of the stronger plays in that range. We talked about it on Friday, where Diggs, Julio, Keenan Allen, and Lockett, I think, were the 4 strongest plays at that right around the 7K price range. And so we ended up going with Julio and with Lockett. And Lockett, I think he's a very volatile option. I don't know if he's really a cash option anymore. He's either going to go all the way off, or he's going to basically get nothing. He's really like feast or famine. So I'm not sure if Lockett can really be trusted in cash going forward.
Yeah. So let's talk about the process a little bit with Lockett. He had a much better matchup than DK Metcalf.
Yeah, in the slot.
DK Metcalf, I don't know what percentage of his snaps he was shadowed by Tre'Davious White, but Tre'Davious White is one of the best corners in the league, hands down. Buffalo's had a slot funnel all year that's been attackable in DFS. And in these games, Pete Carroll seems to scheme plays to the open or to the better matchup. And talk about another scary fade, Tyler Lockett. If he gets one of these blow up games where he goes for 40 points and you don't have that, you're
Yeah.
probably dead. And Tyler Lockett was even higher owned than Julio, I believe.
Yeah,
Um,
Julio was right around like 55, and Lockett was right at 52. So they were
so that's another scary fade. And yeah, Lockett of those big 4 this week. The thing is that he has the most volatility, and 2, the other 3 are just locked in alphas. Keenan Allen locked in alpha. Julio, locked in alpha. Stephon Diggs, locked in alpha. But Tyler Lockett's upside is higher than all of those. Even Julio, I think Tyler Lockett has the most upside of all four of them. But yeah, going forward, it's pretty clear that Metcalf is the alpha. And also, I'm getting tired of trying to choose between these two. It's really getting difficult. Uh, so I think moving forward, if they're both going to be this expensive, I think I'm just going to fade that spot and just try to prioritize guys who I know are going to get the volume game in, game out. Guys like Keenan Allen, who you know under Herbert's getting at least 10 targets. So process wise, I think it was fine this week, but moving forward, I don't think I can do it anymore.
Yeah, it's always tough with Lockett. He's just so up and down, but his ceiling compared to those other guys is it's right there with him. His floor is just a little bit lower. His ceiling might even be higher than someone like Keenan Allen because Keenan Allen needs volume to get there. Lockett can get there on 5 or 6 targets.
Right.
So the last wide receiver that we played was Darnell Mooney. And I know a lot of people punted off with Marcus Johnson or Danny Amendola, Christian Blake, some of those guys. I mean, they were fine at their at minimum price. I think Mooney. I think we really ran a little bit cold here with Mooney. He ended up having 11 targets. He went 5 receptions for 43 yards, and he got 2 end zone targets. So Mooney only scoring 9.3 points with that kind of volume. That's honestly pretty unlucky for 3.9K. But he ended up being just fine. 3.9K, 9.3 points. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I felt pretty good about him, especially when the news that Jadeveon Clowney was ruled out. That's what we wanted for this game. Nick Foles is a lot better when he's not being pressured, and that allows time for Mooney to get down the field. I mean, he is like a 15 ADOT.
Yeah.
So it was a really good matchup. He definitely did run cold, and I think didn't Nick Foles miss him on another deep ball again for like the 8th week in a row?
Yep.
But I mean, 3,900, he got 9.3. That's fine. He outscored guys like Blake, Johnson. Amendola definitely got there. He had a great game. But I thought Mooney was he had way more upside than any of those guys. And he had been getting targets and deep targets. And if he connects on one of these weeks, that's just electric. So,
yeah, I mean, even with these punt guys, I'm still looking for a ceiling because all these guys they have no floor. None of them have any floor. They're like 3K for a reason. But Mooney definitely has more upside than Marcus Johnson, more upside than Danny Amendola. Amendola probably has a higher floor, but Amendola is just not getting the kind of targets that Mooney is seeing. So I thought, especially in this matchup here against Tennessee, I thought Mooney was definitely fine. And 3.9K, scored 9 points for us. I thought that was perfectly fine for the price. And so we always love to punt off tight end. I think that this is the optimal way to go, at least in 2020 in cash games, is to just punt off tight end to these guys who are under 3K. And we did it with Alberto this week. He was 2,800. So he ended up only having 1 catch for 7 yards. And he actually tore his ACL in this game. So he's going to be out for the year. Who knows if he actually was able to play this full game, maybe catch the touchdown. Like we mentioned, when you're punting off tight end, you want guys that can get into the box because at the end of the day, it's really what you're looking for at tight end is getting into the box. And the Falcons, like we talked about, were absolutely atrocious to basically every position and definitely tight ends in particular. Alberto, yeah, he's not running a ton of routes, but he's getting the most end zone targets on a per game basis in the entire NFL among all tight ends. So I thought Alberto was fine. If we're looking to punt it off, 2,800 I thought he was fine.
Yeah, I mean, people like to say that running backs don't matter. Well, for DFS purposes, tight end does not matter. Like straight up, unless you're playing Travis Kelce, it doesn't matter. There's so little opportunity cost between these guys. I mean, if you played Hunter Henry, Hunter Henry got like what 6 points? Like
around 7. Yeah.
Hayden Hurst ended up getting there. He had a fine game, but like I just don't care. Like it allows me to pay up at running back, quarterback, and receiver if I punt tight end, and I just don't think it really matters. Like I've punted tight end. I think all but 1 week where I played Darren Waller, and most of those weeks I've profited. So going forward, it's still going to be my mindset when I'm working through my process over the course of the week. I, I don't like paying up, and I'm just not going to do it. The other thing to mention here with Alberto is Noah Fant left this game at one point in the first half. And obviously, you're never going to wish ill will on anybody. It sucks that he gets injured, but we thought we were rich when this happened. Like
Yeah.
we thought we were going to get, almost an entire game of Alberto starting at 2,800, and we just thought we were just, oh my god, we thought we hit the jackpot. Um, Obviously, Fant came back in this game, and Alberto saw a decrease in snaps and ultimately got hurt. But he got us 1.7 points, and it didn't matter. Even with
That's the
Justin
thing.
Jackson hitting that 0, it didn't matter.
That's the thing. We've done it multiple times. We did it with Adam Troutman a couple weeks back, and he got a goose egg, 2,500. The thing is, it just doesn't matter, and the reason why is because it allows you to get up to someone like Josh Allen, who can go off for a 40 burger, gets you up to Dalvin Cook. If it allows you to jam in, you know, uh, all of these guys, I think that it's fine. Just sacrificing tight end and just look for touchdown upside there. Just try to find a guy who's getting a couple end zone targets and just roll with them. I mean, yeah, if they're not running a ton of routes, it's not even that big of a deal because it's tight end. You can take a 0 at a $2,500 tight end as long as your other guys are fine.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if there's not a lot of top options at the other positions, if there's not these high priced quarterbacks that can run, and like someone like Devontae Adams on the slate, well, then we might not want to punt tight end. It's really just in the context of the slate. But most weeks we're going to have these guys that have these massive ceilings at quarterback, running back, and wide receiver positions that are just so much more important with so much more opportunity cost. I mean, tight end just does not have the opportunity cost that it just really does not matter. I mean, yeah, Travis Kelce's there. Travis Kelce scored 28 points, but he was 3% owned, so it doesn't matter. No one had him. Everyone was playing mid-range, and the mid-range guys mostly busted. So I think that you just save the 2K, put it in your pocket, and save it, and then use it to get from someone like, so let's just say next week, get up from someone like Lockett up to Devontae Adams. So I think that's the main thing here is just keep rolling with these min-price tight ends when the context of the slate allows. I think that's the lesson to learn here, because we've done it multiple times and we've been just fine. It just doesn't matter.
And a lot of the times with these cheap tight ends, I mean, you'll be halfway through the week. And I mean, we saw this a couple weeks ago when Austin Hooper got ruled out on like Wednesday.
Yeah, it's like,
obviously the price can't account for that.
Yep.
And then you get Harrison Bryant at 2,800 or whatever he was.
Yep.
So I mean, how many guys at the tight end position, not named Travis Kelce, can you definitively say he will get me 15 points?
Yeah, I mean, maybe Darren Waller and Kittle when he's healthy, but he's out for the year.
Right. And that's the difference between these high-priced quarterbacks. When you're paying, mid to high 5K range at quarterback, you're hoping they get you 25. When you're paying up 7K, you're expecting 25 with upwards of 40.
And the thing is, the quarterbacks that can run, they have more outs. They're not just like these statues back there that if they don't throw 3 touchdowns, they're not going to get there. No, they can get there rushing. So the high end quarterbacks that can run, their floor, like they're much less volatile. So I agree with it. I mean, just pay up when you need to a quarterback, which is completely different from what we're used to do, where we're used to just paying down at quarterback and going from there. But now, and just hoping for like 20 points. Now in 2020 with these guys that can run, I mean, you really have to prioritize these guys in elite game environments that can run. I think that's the lesson learned here. So another solid week for the PrintFest DFS boys. We did end up on the same lineup there at the end. We were debating it left and right. We're trying to figure out what we want to do. I had a 2v2. I had a Drew Lock and Noah Fant, or Josh Allen and Alberto, and I decided just to punt it off a tight end and go with Alberto. So we ended up on the same lineup, and that's how it goes sometimes. So Solid week, won 69% of our head-to-heads and finished 2 points above line of cash. So we just barely got there, even with a goose egg from Justin Jackson and Alberto only getting 1.7 and tearing his ACL. So uh, I still feel great about the process, and um, I think we're gonna be all right going forward.
Yeah, and I mean, this week coming up, week 10, I mean, it's an exciting slate. There's a lot of interesting ways you can go on the salaries. So I'm excited. It's definitely going to be one of the more exciting weeks working through the process.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that's gonna do it for episode 8 of the PrintFest DFS podcast. We're gonna be back on Friday night. Until then, good luck, everybody.